Okay, so I'm just going to make a couple of videos that's going to explain the bits and pieces that I asked you to install and just step through the process. Some of it you're not strictly going to need to know. I'm just explaining it as I'm doing it for your kind of edification. So this is one of those. So Bitbucket is the source control manager that uses Git to actually do the work, but this is what sort of wraps around it. So for the work that we're going to do this shapefile translation stuff, we need what's called a repo, so a repository to store the work in. So I'm just going to create a new repo. I'll just call it and we'll call it Deo Shapefile maker, and just go create repo. So what that has done is that has made this online repository where we can store this data, store the data that we're going to use, all the code and stuff. So if with that made, if we click on this clone button, we can copy and paste this link here, and then I'll put it into this text file. So that command can be used to clone whatever is in the repo. So if we go to Git, don't actually need the download, we just need Git. So if we go into Git and we go into documentation, there should be some reference manual. Is there an overview or something? All right, let's just look at that one. Cheat sheets. Okay, yeah, let's go to cheat sheets. So we're in Git. Are we in Git or GitHub? Hang on. We're in GitHub. That's okay. So this page will give you some of the commands that you've got optional. So git clone will clone a repository into a new directory. So there's also git pull and git push and a whole bunch of other stuff. So you can push your data into the remote repo, or you can pull it. So that's you're basically going to be pulling it, and then I'm going to be pushing it. But initially, you'll clone it. So what we can do is if we go into Windows Explorer, wherever you want to have the data, so I will just put it in I'll put in documents, and I'll just make a new one, a new folder. I'll call it underscore Deo Shapefile maker, so I've given it the same name. And if I'm inside this folder with Git installed, you'll see that these two extra options come up if you right click on them. So if you go Git GUI, that will open up like a GUI version of the Git, but if you just do Git bash, then it'll open up a command prompt. Okay, now with that cloned clone command, you can just copy and paste it into here. But when you paste into the CMD, you need to right click and paste. You can't do a Control V, it won't work. So then if I enter, it will say cloning into Deo Shapefile Maker. It's made that folder Deo underscore Shapefile Maker. It dropped the camel case and stuff like that, but it's done it. So now if we look inside Git, we've got that git ignore file. The git ignore file is just a file which tells the Git which files should be ignored. So if I have a remote in here and I've got a folder, a bunch of stuff that I don't want to keep pushing to the remote, then I can just add it into that, and then it will just ignore them. So that's what that file's for. Okay, so that's our base folder and how we clone. Now I'm going to show you a couple of command prompt ways of doing this before we sort of start doing it in PyCharm. So if I just make a new file, and I'll just call it hello git, okay, if we're in this CMD, I can do a git status. See, I'm in the wrong directory, okay? I'm in that directory, and that is the directory I need to be inside of. So I'm just going to do cd do. If you hit tab, it will try and fill in for you whatever the path is. So now we're inside of it. If I do git status, it will say there's one untracked file. Your branch is up to date with origin master. You're on master branch. Your branch is up to date with origin master. Untracked files is this. So I could add that file, or I could add everything. So if I do add everything, let me just check. Okay, do git add everything, and then I do git status. So now we've got that. Hello git is now green. It's a new file, but we haven't committed it. So we can do git commit, and we can add -m for a message, and we can say first commit. Let's just do that, first commit, and hit enter. And it just said one file change, not insertions, not deletions, create mode, hello git, use git. Now if I say git push, and give it a moment and see if it complains. Okay. So it didn't complain. What it did is it pushed to http bitbucket shapefile maker, and it gave it that UUID. So if we go back into our Git repo now and close it and refresh it, you will, as if by magic, see the file. Now, what makes this different from, say, a Google Drive account or a OneDrive account or something like that is it's going to track all of the changes that are made to the files, and when you submit the data, you can put commit messages in. So this is really for programmers to be collaborating with one another. However, for the purposes of what we're going to try to achieve, what we will try to achieve, it's useful because if I need to change the code a little bit or there's a problem, I can change it, and I can, and then you can just pull down the changes, right? And the other advantage is, and the main reason why I'm doing it is because the Python modules that you use to do works on Shapefile have all sorts of like C bindings and other bindings and DLL files and things, and they're just hard to make into an executable. Like, I'm competent, but I don't have days and days and days to figure that stuff out. So there's advantages of doing this. It's a little bit of a learning curve for you guys to begin with, but that's okay. That's good. So we've got our Deo-Shapefile maker workspace, which we can now clone, pull, push from, put code into. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video here, and then the next video I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a very brief tour of PyCharm.